us now, I'm very proud to say, back with us on the program, the Interior Secretary of the United States, Doug Burgum. Mr. Secretary, good to have you back on the show, sir.
Hey, Vince, great to be with you.
Now, let me just get an update from you. Did you officially set the Guinness World Record for that fireworks show this year?
Well, I think we're waiting for confirmation, but relative to any others that we're aware of, 10 launch locations, 850,000 individual fireworks show lasting about 40 minutes. A typical one on Washington, D.C. A big 4th of July celebration is less than half that in terms of length, less than a third of that in terms of launch locations, and less than 1/10 of that in terms of number of fireworks. So I don't think it's going to be close when the tape finally comes in. I think this is going to set a new world record by some margin.
Yeah, I didn't realize how rigorous their process was, that it would take so long, but hopefully it comes through soon. Were you worried at all, given the weather constraints that occurred on Independence Day? I know the president was very insistent that the show go on. Were you sweating at all as the night approached?
Well, I think the big thing, of course, people need to appreciate, number one priority on this is security for the citizens that are watching, and of course, security for the President of the United States. We had 83 magnometers, think of like TSA sites. We screened 350,000 people at least into that area. Then the lightning storm came, evacuation order, get the people off the mall, had to take those stations down. 350,000 people left the National Mall. President says the show must go on, as he always does. We set them back up again. We screened over 100,000 people and got them back in by the time he took the stage at 11 p.m. So, kudos to the U.S. Park Police, the National Park Service, everybody that was working, all the security folks, the National Guard, to pull that off, because, unfortunately, there's plenty of bad actors in the world that their number one goal was to spoil our 4th of July celebration with some kind of backpack bomb on the mall. And if it had happened anytime near when the president was speaking, no matter where it was, that's the only news story we'd still be talking about. And so to be able to pull off that scale of an event, through the full 2 weeks of the Great American State Fair, all the events going on, and do that with total security, no incidents. I mean, kudos to the team. They worked on that security plan for over a year. Executed beautifully.
How intense were the threats? Now that in hindsight, was it a pretty big undertaking? Was there a lot of ill intention for that celebration?
Well, I think there was, certainly was, and it's just. It's a sad thing, but long before even our 250th, if you're in the dark web going around and looking at how to recruit people that have animosity to the United States, I mean, one of the number one images they use is the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty, of course, is on an island. We screen people before they get on the boat. We screen them again when they get on the island. We screen them before they go in the Statue of Liberty. But the mall is wide open. I mean, it's an open, but we did have, we had no climb fence around that whole area, around where the concert and the speech was going to go on by the president. So we're able to add some security there, but it's always a risk these days. We unfortunately live in a dangerous world, and when the U.S. is taking on groups like Iran that are funding 24 different terror groups, could come from everywhere. And I think it was widely reported that there was specific threats around the UFC fight as well in terms of that activity. So it's something that when we're doing these public events, we have to monitor. But I just, again, want to give a shout out to the great job that everybody's doing. And of course, this is part of President Trump making DC safe and beautiful. When he came up with the executive order a year ago saying if we're the most extraordinary, exceptional country in the world, we ought to have the most beautiful capital. And with that, the U.S. Park Police, which is part of Interior, not to be confused with our great park rangers, but it's a special force that George Washington created in 1791 that does watch over the Statue of Liberty, the National Mall, and the Golden Gate Recreation Area. And this group, we've doubled the size of it. We've recruited talented, experienced law enforcement from other agencies that want to come to work for an agency that actually does law enforcement. We've reinstated their authorities, like being able to pursue. I mean, when I got here, I was like doing a ride along, and I found out that the prior administration had taken away the U.S. Park Police ability to actually pursue someone they pulled over. It'd be like, as a former governor, I'm like, why would you have a highway patrol if they couldn't pursue somebody? So just some common sense things. And then President Trump, over 1,000 graffiti sites gone, 150 homeless encampments, people that are, humanely relocated to where they can have services, but they just can't live in public spaces.
Yes.
The 22 fountains going back again that have had not water running for years. The 48 monuments. I mean, DC has never looked better and statistically never been safer, like in 125 years. And this is President Trump's just laid out a blueprint. Any city could do this. I mean, pick a city: Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Portland. They could all do what President Trump is doing. It's just a function of leadership.
Fellas, if we can go full screen for a moment, I want to show the Interior Secretary something here from the Memorial Bridge. This is the president just posting this. He's very proud of the fact that they've re-gilded the Arts of War sculptures. This would be the bridge that connects Arlington National Cemetery to the Lincoln Memorial. And they're taking down the scaffolding. As long as I've been in Washington, D.C., that's about 16 years now, these have not looked anywhere near as good. They've been re-gilded, and now all the scaffolding is coming down. Mr. Secretary, these are even the smallest details. Tell us about the passion that goes into this. To what extent is it the president's judgment that's motivating this, and how involved are you in making these specific decisions?
On this one, with the regilding, very much involved with my team, but and the president. This was pointed out. The president has an eye for detail. He sees these kinds of things. He asks about them. We dig into it. We find out that those things had not been regilded since 1971. They were so stained that no one actually knew they were gold anymore. They were like two things. And there's 4 of these statues coming off 2 different bridges. These 2, the Arts of War, Sacrifice, and Valor. That work has been going on for the last 4 months. Dedicated specialist regilders going inside that building, that structure, and doing that work. And now with the 4th of July, as you say, that scaffolding coming down, the shrouds coming down, and we're going to be able to see what the original glory of these statues were. There's 2 more of them now that are under shrouds that are being worked on. The team that has finished these has moved over and do the other 2. But when you're coming into the Lincoln Memorial, into Washington, D.C. from Reagan Airport, from the other bridge that comes across, it's going to be that's the front door, if you will, as you're coming across the Potomac, and you're going to be shocked at how beautiful these statues are. 19 feet high, those equestrian statues are.
It's amazing. I mean, it is beautiful. There's something really valuable, I think, to the human spirit when you see beauty, especially when you arrive in Washington, D.C. What a difference Union Station is now. Just like how clean it is, and the fountain is operating, and all the homeless people are gone, because, as you pointed out just a moment ago, they're being cared for. They're actually like in shelters now, which is like, what was the status quo before? People were just allowed to rot on the street, and then everybody was made kind of like sad by the fact that their nation's capital looks like crap.
Well, it was, and when I talk about these 150 homeless encampments, most of those were on public spaces in either the circles, the squares, the parks. Or as you say, Union Station was basically, if someone arrived in our city, flew to New York, came by train to our capital from around the world their first time, they basically got off the train into a homeless encampment inside the station, partnering with our great Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, who's got responsibility for Union Station. We've got the National Park Service Interior outside in Columbus Circle. But Columbus Circle, that was a Hamas covered pro-Hamas graffiti site, and it was basically a homeless camp surrounded by a protest camp. And that was what you saw when you came in, and that entire thing has been restored. The fountain is flowing. That was a 1912. That was over 115 years ago. That was that Columbus statue. It's Carrara marble, Vince. It's the same material that's in the Trevi Fountain in Rome, and nobody knew that. We've had congressmen say, "I didn't know it was a fountain." They've been here for 20 years.
Yes.
So again, but this was President Trump setting this high bar, as you say. Pride in our country, pride in our capital, the fact that we can have safe and beautiful spaces for people to live. And President Trump is doing this in a city which is 95% registered Democrats. Okay, when I go back, it's leadership that matters, it's commitment. And I should also point out, people say, where's the money coming from? During this first administration, President Trump pushed for and got signed the Great American Outdoors Act, which was the greatest bill ever for doing deferred maintenance on our national parks. And all of this, the National Mall, the
Yes.
circles, like yesterday, we rededicated Logan Circle, completely restoring it. Earlier this year, DuPont Circle. Those are all national park lands. President Trump's action in his first term is helping provide the funding to allow us to go out and get it done. And you want to talk about a rejuvenated group. How about the national park team members, some of which are historic renovation specialists that were working someplace where they got to sit and watch these parks, these circles, and these squares get overtaken by homeless encampments, by people that are graffiti artists, and then not have no support from the White House, or the Secretary of Interior to actually go do their job and fix it. I mean, the amount of pride and energy and positivity among these dedicated, federal team members, I mean, they're over the moon, whether it's being able to enforce the law or being able to do the work to restore these statues. I mean, it's really fun to see people energized, because now that what they came to do, the purpose in their work, they're getting a chance to do it and make a difference for the people that live here and visit here.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to do your job and see the fruits of your labors. What do you think of the people, the lefties, who have been destroying some of these projects? So you are working to restore them, and then you've got people who hate President Trump who are rooting on the destruction of the reflecting pool or actively vandalizing it. What is that, Secretary?
Well, Vince, I don't know. It sort of crossed over from tragedy to comedy at some point when you've got the pro-algae protesters, people dressed up like next to the reflecting pool. The reflecting pool, was built in 1922, the same time the Lincoln Memorial. It's literally part of the Lincoln Memorial. And so if somebody's, using a box cutter to cut up the reflecting pool, it's really no different in the eyes of the law than if you came in and threw a bucket of red paint on Lincoln's statue. I mean, these are our national monuments. They're protected. And it is, maybe it's overused, maybe not, but on the, Trump derangement syndrome, if somehow you think you're helping America by attacking one of our monuments. And the reflecting pool is designed to reflect. And what does it reflect? Lincoln and Washington memorials. So are these people attacking America, attacking Lincoln, attacking Washington, attacking our own country? I'm not sure what's driving that. But President Trump absolutely dedicated on the reflecting pool. This thing was leaking 45,000 gallons a day. It's a 2,000-foot long pool, nearly a half a mile long. It's got 2.5 miles of expansion joints. The expansion joints were leaking, and we've fixed it. And now there's stories out about, that this or that and the whole thing. I mean, post fireworks, because a number of those 10 fireworks stations were right along the reflecting pool. So every year after fireworks, even if it's a smaller show, we got to drain the pool, get all the fireworks debris out of the pool, take a look at repairs. But it's working, it's the most beautiful it's ever been, and now as we're in there, it's about 99.7% of the surface is good. So thank goodness, between the vandalism and other things that went on, it's like, less than 1/3 of 1%. That repair work's going on. It'll be back to its full beauty shortly.
There was a media conspiracy theory that there was no vandalism at the reflecting pool. They kept saying, and I believe they said it directly to you in a number of interviews. But if I recall correctly, Mr. Secretary, you said that you actually have some very real evidence of the people who were wielding box cutters against the reflecting pool. Is there video or something of that?
Yeah, there's some video. We initially, when we put it in, no one ever thought like, wow, someone's going to attack the reflecting pool. I mean, I feel like the reflecting pool needs a special security detail. I mean, or like the reflecting pool maybe should be nominated for Man of the Year or something, because it's gotten so much. The Constitution Gardens pool next door is very jealous because it's gotten almost no attention, and the reflecting pool has become the focal point of the world. But it is. There is that. That's going through the courts. There've been a number of arrests that were made, and again, but we're moving on. And again, I think we want to focus on the big thing, which is President Trump's amazing blueprint for any American city on if you want to have a clean, beautiful, safe city in America, you can do it. And so the mayors and governors that are blaming the president for their troubles is bizarre, because they have every tool they need to fix these issues.
Let me ask you about American energy, because this is a part of your portfolio too. This is a big deal. A lot of Americans are always looking for the cheapest, most abundant energy they can have because they know how important it is for their life to flourish. What do you see going forward now in the next year or so? How's the American energy picture look?
Well, President Trump has completely transformed it in the most positive way possible. I mean, 18 months ago, the Biden administration, had a ban on LNG exports. They were blocking both the leasing and the permitting of oil and gas development on federal lands. That's public land. That belongs to all of your listeners. If all your listeners are feeling like, oh, there's a lot of national debt, they need to also understand that there's a lot of national assets. We just have to use them smart, sustainably, leave them in better shape than what we found them. But we are loaded. This is a rich, abundant country. Just on interior land alone, I mean, almost 30% of the oil and gas in America comes from interior land. We inherited just in one office of the Bureau of Land Management in New Mexico, Carlsbad, the Biden administration had left behind 5,600 unprocessed permits to drill. Okay, people were, trying to drill to produce oil to send a royalty check to the American people. And so when a company is willing to bid to have an opportunity to develop our resource that belongs to the public and they pay us a royalty, I consider those folks a customer because they're writing a check to the American people. And we're following the law and we're serving the thing. And what do we have now? We've got record oil production in America versus 18 months ago, record LNG exports. We've displaced 2/3 of Russians' gas sales into Western Europe. So we're defunding the Russian war machine. And President Trump's energy dominance is all about having abundance for affordability at home, but also having so our allies and friends don't have to buy from people that are using their oil sales to fund terrorism. Yes. Venezuela, we turned a sanctioned adversary into a strategic ally in 45 minutes, thanks to President Trump's courage and the execution of our fantastic military. All of that Venezuelan oil now coming to Gulf of America refineries, helping lower the price. President Trump unleashing Alaskan energy. I mean, the sum of everything that he's done has moved the geopolitical center of energy from the other part of the world, from the Middle East back to North America. Yes. In the Western Hemisphere, and that's going to pay benefits. Vince, America has the lowest cost, most secure energy source in the world now and going forward for decades and decades. I mean, everyone who's listening, your kids, your grandkids, everyone is going to receive a economic dividend, if you will, from the fact that President Trump understands that energy policy drives national security, it drives the economy, it drives prosperity, it drives everything. The U.S. is better positioned than every other country in the world. We are the best positioned.
Yeah, I remember during the Biden era when they were talking about oil output, they're like, hey, the oil output's up. Why is everyone complaining about Biden's energy policy? I said, the only reason oil output was up was because President Trump's first term. It takes 4 years. It takes 4 years for an oil well to get up and running. So President Trump gets a ton of oil wells up and running, and then Biden is taking credit for a Trump win. So this is once again one of those moments. And finally, on energy, do you ever feel like we're going to get to a point where we are fully insulated from any chaos in, say, the Strait of Hormuz? That American energy production and refining is so prolific that we will never see energy impacts within our borders because of that. Do you anticipate that happening?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're on our way. And that's, again, part of the moves that are being made in Alaska. Venezuela will definitely help that domestically, the lower 48, also in the Gulf of America. All of these things are moving us in that direction. And many states are insulated. We have a few. I'll note California. California, at the time of the latest conflict starting this February in Iran, they were importing over 60% of their oil from foreign countries. The number one country California was importing from was Iraq. which comes through the Strait of Hormuz. California doesn't need to get any foreign oil. They could be getting it all domestically, but they were, again, shutting down their own oil industry in California. They used to be one of the top 2 or 3 producing states. Now they're not even in the top 10.
Yeah.
They have shut down refineries. They used to have 35 refineries. Now they went from 8 to 7 to 6. Right now it's happening. They're going to be down to 6. So they're shorter refining capacity. So not only are they importing oil every day, about 25% of the gasoline consumed in the Golden State, which has more internal combustion vehicles than any other state, the state that was going to go all electric, they have more internal combustion vehicles than any other state. They're importing 25% of their gasoline. So if you have a 1 in 4 chance, or 1/4 of your gallons, however you want to think about it, when you're filling up in California, it was probably refined somewhere on the other side of the planet and then shipped here in a boat. So there's no saving the environment when you use foreign oil and foreign refinery, and then you send it belching across the Pacific to get here to put in your tank. So the whole policy is folly. It's not helping the environment. All it's doing is raising prices on Californians. And so when we talk about the average price of gasoline in America as a metric, it is 50 cents higher for gas on average in every blue state versus every red state. So if you want a tip and you want lower gasoline, drive across the border, go to a state where the state legislature is controlled by Republicans, and if you've got sound energy policy, you're going to have lower energy prices. And then these folks are, then they're blaming President Trump for their own thing. I mean, the last year, even under the last year of Biden, the lowest prices in California were higher than the highest prices in any of the other states. So it is amazing that again, I mean, California is now leading in one thing, and that's out migration, because no one's going to be able to afford to live there because Silicon Valley's leaving. AI requires energy. And the price of electricity is also affected by these policies. The states that over-rotated towards this idea of an energy transition, that somehow we're going to go from affordable, reliable, and secure American energy for electricity to something that was intermittent, dependent on the weather, foreign sourced, highly subsidized. If you're going that was energy subtraction. These states were ending up with less electricity, and therefore their prices went up. And so again, the price of electricity, we have people trying to turn this into an election issue. President Trump has the roadmap on how to have lower prices for electricity and lower prices for energy, and it has to do with energy abundance, not some energy transition, which is a lie, because it was really energy subtraction.
Yeah, and we've got the best environmental standards, too, for how we pull this energy. And this idea that California is buying it from overseas, it's like being pulled up in the dirtiest way possible, and then refined in China, which is in a full-blown arms race with us for refineries right now. Thanks, California. Thanks for your work. How about, focus on America, like this administration? Doug Burgum, one of the great reasons I love talking to you is because you always have so much important stuff to say, and I appreciate you as a guest and as the Secretary of the Interior. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well,
sir.
Vince, great being with you, and thank you for your work. Thank you for helping to champion all these causes, and thanks to all your listeners who understand, the patriots that listen to your show, because having this information really matters. Policy matters, politics matters, and thank goodness for President Trump. Where would we be if he hadn't won this election 18 months ago? We'd be in a very different position globally, and we'd be in a very different position economically. And right now, manufacturing coming back to U.S., jobs are coming back. It's all coming back here because it begins with energy policy, because no one's going to build a factory of the future in a place where electric prices are high. And so again, it's this record amount of capital is going to be spent in America, remanufacturing our thing. It's going to flow to states that have smart energy policies. And traditionally, it just flowed to California and New York out of habit. And now, no, that's not flowing there. So there's going to be a redistribution of where the jobs are going, in part because of who's got the smartest, most affordable energy policies.
I love that. Secretary Burgum, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Vince. Great to be with you.